fajitas for tea tonight, so I thought I'd just quickly share with you a very quick and simple fajitas recipe. The first thing I did was I actually prepared any vegetables first. So the first thing I did was chopped up some tomatoes. If you've got some salsa at home, that would be absolutely fine. So I've got some tomatoes which I've washed and chopped up. Then on the same chopping board, I've taken an onion and thinly sliced it. And a pepper, it doesn't matter what colour, but a pepper, and I've thinly sliced that as well. And I cut all that on the chopping board, and the pepper and the onion go together because they're going to be fried off in the fajitas in a minute. And the last thing that I chopped up on my board was chicken. I took 2 or 3 chicken breasts and I cut them into really quite thin strips of chicken. The thinner they are, the quicker they cook, but you don't want them so thin that they disappear into nothing when you cook them later. The last thing that I have got to make the fajitas is some tortilla wraps, which I'm going to make the fajitas or wrap them up with. And if you've got some grated cheese at home, that would be lovely to sprinkle on at the end. And if you've got guacamole, brilliant, you could put some of that on at the end as well. But anyway, that's all of those ingredients. I'm going to move them well out of the way before I make the marinade. Now, the marinade helps the chicken to sort of soak and absorb some flavours. And for the marinade then, I'm going to add about just under a tablespoon of oil, just cooking oil, like that. And then I quite like frozen bits because they actually are quite useful to have in, and then if you haven't got the fresh bits in, like a fresh chilli, you can still add the flavour in. So you want about a clove of garlic, or you want a clove of garlic chopped. But as I've got frozen garlic, I'm going to estimate what a clove of garlic is and put that in. They are still frozen, but as this marinates, they will defrost. So garlic's gone in. You then want a chilli chopped. Obviously, however hot you like it is up to you how much chilli. Again, they do chilli in frozen packets, and I find that useful because we don't use much chilli at home. So that's gone in. And the other thing is some coriander. Sort of a small bunch of fresh coriander, but again, I very rarely have coriander in because it just tends to die quite quickly if it's fresh. So I tend to keep some that's frozen, and it will come out in lumps. And I'm looking for about a tablespoon of coriander, so that will be about there. And then the last thing that I'm adding to this marinade, trying to seal the bags up so that when they go back in the freezer, they don't get freezer burn, is a lime. Now they want the juice of the lime, but I always think if I'm using the juice, I may as well give it a wash and use the zest as well. So I've zested the lime, which is those bits there, and that's going to go in. And then the juice of the lime goes in. And then we're going to let this sit in the fridge, covered, for about 10 or 20 minutes. And in that time, because the chicken is cut so thinly, it will almost start, the lime will almost start to denature, or sort of almost look like it's cooking the chicken. It won't cook it, you'll need to cook it later, but it will start to absorb flavours. It will also the lime juice will start to almost cook the chicken. So I'm going to turn this around now. I'm aware that at the moment things like the coriander is frozen, so that's okay. I'm just mixing that round a bit and just cutting it up a bit. I just want all the chicken to be covered in each of those bits. And then I'm going to cover it with some cling film, which I've pre-cut, and I'm going to put that in the fridge. Now, as I said to you, I cut the chicken on the board last. That's because obviously I don't want raw chicken getting into things like the tomatoes, which aren't going to get cooked. And then after I've prepared the raw chicken, I wash my hands and I've washed the board down really thoroughly. So please make sure when you've cut the chicken, it's the last thing you cut up on the board, and that you wash everything down really well. I'm now going to pop this into the fridge and let the flavours get absorbed by that chicken for probably 10 to 20 minutes, and I'll rejoin you and then show you how I'm going to finish these fajitas off. So the marinating chicken has been marinating for about 20 minutes. I don't know if you're able to see this or not, but the chicken almost is looking a little bit lighter around the edges. Like I say, it almost is as if it's starting to cook a little bit, but obviously it isn't cooked and you do need to cook it with heat. I'm going to turn the heat on then, and in a frying pan, there it is. I'm going to go for quite a high heat there. And I'm going to place the chicken in. I'm not putting any oil in the pan because if you remember, we put oil into the marinade. I'm going to tip all of the juices in there. I'm going to put the dish into the wash. And I'm going to wash my hands, just in case I've got any of the raw chicken juice on my hands. And I'm also just going to wipe that worktop in case there's any chicken on the bottom of that dish. So, the next little stage is really just to fry this chicken off a little bit. Now I've managed, like I say, I've used frozen ingredients here for a lot of this. It's all defrosted, and so I just gave the chicken and everything a stir around so that actually the chicken is coated with all of the coriander. It isn't all just in one place, likewise the chilli. And what I'm trying to do is just cook this chicken. I'll know when this chicken's cooked when I find a fat part of a chicken, the fattest point, so I need to look carefully to try and find and establish which is the fattest piece of chicken, and when that, I cut it open and it's white all the way through. These are quite thin. It depends how thickly you cut your chicken as to how quickly it will cook. I imagine this will take probably about 3 or 4 minutes, particularly as it's gone in and the pan isn't that hot. I'm just going to shut the window that I've got open. It's quite a hot day today, but the breeze is playing havoc with the gas underneath. At the moment I can still see pink on bits of the chicken, so I know that there's no way that's cooked yet. I'm just going to leave it for a moment, let some heat get into it before I turn it around again. Starting to cook a little bit now, which is nice. Because there's quite a lot of juice, you can see that there's a lot of bubbles around the edges, just as the juice and the liquid from the chicken is evaporating off. I'm going to have a look, see if I can find quite a chunky piece of chicken that's quite wide, because obviously the wider the chicken is, the longer the heat will take to get through it, so it's going to be the candidate to check first. See if it's cooked. So I'm going to go for this piece here. If I cut that open with my spoon and look in the middle of it, it is actually, I'm trying to hold it up so you might be able to see it as well, it is actually white all the way through. Now I'm hoping that this chicken is cooked all the way through. I've taken a test on one piece, I'll do a test on another piece. This piece here is again quite a thick piece of chicken. And that is white all the way through. If there was any pink in the middle of the piece of chicken, you need to give the whole lot just a little bit longer and try again on another piece. As I say, this has not taken long, but I've deliberately cut this chicken quite thinly. So once the chicken is cooked, it's white all the way through, you're going to add the onion and the peppers that you sliced earlier. They go in. And then you're looking to stir fry those off a bit really, so that they get possibly a little bit of colour on them, but you want them definitely to get softer. I don't know about you, I'm not very good with lots of raw onions, so I want the onion to cook down a bit. And you can start to hear that sizzling now. Almost could do with a bigger pan. And keep it all in as I'm stirring it. There we are. And I'm going to pause the video here. This is going to take probably about another 2 to 3 minutes to fry and to get these onions softened and the peppers softened. And when these have done that, I will rejoin you and just show you then how to then plate this up and turn them into wraps or fajitas. Thank you. So the chicken and the peppers and onion have been cooking for a further 2 to 3 minutes maybe. All the liquid has evaporated now, and so now you can see the peppers are starting to soften up and the onion has softened as well. So at this stage, that's ready, and I'm now ready to make the wraps. The great thing with this recipe is because the chicken goes in first and you've checked that it's cooked at the start. If for any reason there was a piece that wasn't quite cooked, actually by the time the onions and the peppers have cooked, it will be fine. So I'm going to put this on a heat-proof mat, and then I've got, turn the gas off, I've then got a chopping board here with a wrap on it, and I've got some cheese. I've got, well, what would have been salsa, but what I've got is some chopped tomatoes there, and if you've got some guacamole, brilliant, use that as well. And literally all I'm going to do is take some of this mixture. This should make probably about 6 wraps, maybe 8. You can always add more chicken. I think I added 2 decent sized chicken breasts to this, but you could add in more, and you could also add in more peppers or more onions depending on the size of your family. I try and go down the middle of the wrap and I avoid both ends. I'm then going to add on top a few tomatoes. And then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of cheese on, again all down the middle of this wrap. And then the idea is that you tuck the bottom up. So if you work downwards with everything going down the middle of the wrap, you tuck the bottom bit up, and then you can then roll this over with the sides coming over. And then if you place it onto the plate that way, then the ends are tucked under and it won't unwrap. It also means that when somebody goes to pick this up, everything doesn't fall out of the bottom. I hope you might enjoy making the fajitas. Hopefully they'll be a nice quick and easy dinner for you one evening. Thank you ever so much.